did a lot of research last night on the different trends taking place in the world after I completed my Sunday evening radio transmission. And then this morning I got up at about 6 a.m. and I did research for several hours. But then driving into work, when you're calm and not on the telephone or not looking over stacks of news, it just hit me that I needed to calmly try to take a deep breath and come on air and break down the big picture. I know we talk about the big overall view of the world by the globalist versus the general public and humanity, but it's important to really state where we are currently in the history of the world. So I want to talk a few minutes about that at the start of the next segment, and then obviously go through all of the news. And I've talked a lot about this on air, but it's a phenomenon that happens that I've somehow got to dominate in myself. I've got to change. The broadcast is informative. I have a lot of passion. I speak from the heart. It's not scripted. I have a pretty good grasp on the geopolitical systems and how they really work. But at the same time, sometimes I drive a little too fast and end up wrecking the car on the way to trying to get the pole position and then the checkered flag. I think we all do that. But I got so angry yesterday on the Sunday broadcast, I'd invited David Knight down here to be on for one segment, ended up having him on basically the whole show. And Kit Daniels down on the border, he'll be back on today with us, giving us an update. That, I mean, I started yelling and screaming and talking over everyone and hyperventilating and literally yelling and screaming during the breaks. I mean, it's not an act. And it's because I sit here studying the globalist day after day, hour after hour, week after week, month after month, year after year, dreaming about it as well. Seeing it threaten my family, seeing the social engineering destroying my world, your world, seeing the psychological rot expanding, not just with my own eyes, but I can see the digital readout metrics of it in society all across the planet. And I realized the reason I'm so disgusted is that I'm beyond anger and hatred of the New World Order now. I look at these people and they are just giant piles of stinking garbage. And I know they're weak. And I know they're pathetic. And I know how they're programmed. And I know how their substratas operate. And it's very frustrating as an individual that I can't flip the levers to reverse what they're doing. And it's a very sickening feeling, the opposite of empowering, to realize that I'm smarter and better than even most of the establishment operatives. And that they're so weak they've chosen evil. But they've got such a jump on us long term, building these systems of artificiality and false consciousness, false reality, that they themselves are just programmed biological androids. And it's then frustrating to have to focus on them all day and that they become the center of our world when there's this incredible universe all around us.
Celebrate the spirit of freedom and liberty upon which our nation was founded at InfoWarsShop.com. Molon Lave is ancient Greek for come and take it. This popular design combines both classic Greek Spartan imagery with modern M16 assault rifles. Now available in women's tees and proudly made in the USA. Celebrate the spirit of 1776 with the George Washington brass belt buckle or this incredibly sharp-looking 1776 hat. Badass. And be sure to check out the new arrivals at InfoWars Life, where you can prepare your body to perform at peak levels with Survival Shield, Nascent Iodine, Super Male Vitality, and Fluoride Shield. And wake up, America. Immune Support Blend is the healthy choice for the gourmet coffee lover. So get incredibly high-quality, freedom-based products and help fund the revolution at InfoWarsShop.com.
This is just the top of the stack. Some of these stacks have upwards of 30 stories in them. And that's why I get wound up and sometimes start the broadcast yelling and screaming, because I'm immersed in seeing what the globalists are doing. It's 100% crystal clear what their plans are. They're all stated on record. And that's what hit me this morning, is that their program, their operation is so public. And that they don't even bother hiding it, because the general public has been raised under mainstream media and sports and things that don't matter and trendiness and Hollywood to the point of living in a false reality with a near false consciousness, a super ego-induced form of artificial narcissism disorder, whatever particular name you want to give it, to where the public is living in false reality like a 5-year-old girl dressed up like a fairy princess, imagining she's a princess and really delusionally believing that she's a fairy princess when she's playing on the back porch. Now, that's normal and healthy for a 3, 4, 5-year-old girl to do. It's not for a 40-year-old woman. That's completely normal and natural for a 5-year-old boy to imagine he's Superman or Batman on the back porch jumping around, fighting with his friends, or imagining he's a Jedi Knight with toy lightsabers. It is not the case for adults. We are meant to imagine archetypes of being a warrior or being a scientist or being a soldier or playing house. But if a 35-year-old woman has a toy refrigerator and toy onions and tomatoes and toy bread and toy butter, you say that's a crazy woman if they're playing with it, believing they're really doing it. And when I say I want to pull back and give you the big picture, I haven't really studied psychology officially. I took a few courses of it in college. I've read a lot of books on it, a lot of history books where I learned real psychology, the way humans really operate. And modern psychology is very politicized, and you've got pop psychology that the general public is basically fed on at the trough, which isn't real psychology at all. But when you get into the real schools of German and British and U.S. psychology and Russian psychology and psychiatry, there's a real science there, because the elite want to know how to control populations. And the approximations and systems they have that aren't political on the surface or aren't pop. Like, there's political psychology saying if you oppose big government, you're mentally ill. Or if you think there's corruption in government, you're schizophrenic. You have psychosis. You're nuts. You're insane. That's Soviet style or fascist style political approximation. And any real psychologist or psychiatrist knows that. It's all very political. Then you've got pop psychology. They put in magazines and stuff for the general public. Has no relation to what's really going on. But as a layman, I already noticed people would imagine they were tough and would imagine they were going to start a fight with you and they were going to beat you up until the real fight started. Or guys would imagine they were a rodeo star and would imagine they knew how to throw a lariat, a lasso, and they would hang it in the back of their truck even though they didn't know how to do it. It's called being a poser. And I remember being 3, 4 years old playing Batman and Robin on my front porch and clicking and thinking, this is pathetic. I'm not really Batman or Robin. I've got all this geopolitical news, all this incredible breaking stuff. It's just that I want to get the general public out there to come out of their trance. Now, I've since gone and studied psychology, the real psychology that the PhDs and people read, that the social engineers use, not the psychologists you talk to down the street. And they know full well what they've done. They've used television and Hollywood to induce men into a false reality of sports and superheroes and comic books. Arrested Development. And they've induced women into a fake feminist mode that they're dominant and they're taking over and they're independent and they've got all this power and they don't need men and they're going to be beautiful. But the husband in the state is their husband. That is, the state is their husband, and their facsimiles following fake, trendy programs because they never had an identity. And I realized from birth, in front of the television being programmed, first they put out programming in the 40s, 50s, and 60s where everyone was happy and everything was great and dad was good and mom was good and everybody was straight and strong and America was perfect to get people into a comfort zone trusting the state. Then they began to roll in by the 70s, the cultural destroying systems once they had people in a trance. And now they're going into pure programming, preparing people for the nanny state and the end of civilization and humanity as we know it. And it's all completely programmed, and it's only a select group of globalists, technocrats, social engineers, political scientists that know about it and control it, and they've all written books about it. Not giving all of it away, but much of it, to be able to understand how to run the system. They need to give some of the Promethean, satanic fire of evil, human control, social control, free will destruction to their subsect minions to be able to carry out the great work. The shackling of humanity, the shuttering of humanity, the great pulling down by the Lilliputian control freaks of the great titan that is free humanity. The great conquering, the great destruction, like a hunter gets on a power trip when he lets the bull elephant charge him and then shoots the elephant in the chest with the high-powered rifle and watches the elephant fall onto its knees and slide like a locomotive coming to a halt in a pile of dirt, like a bullet fired into a sandbank. That's what all of this is about. And George Orwell, a.k.a. George Orwell, Eric Blair, who was a top PSYOP officer in OSS, who before that was an Imperial secret police officer, who before that was a deep cover OSS communist infiltrator. He gave it away in an allegory, the parable of 1984, when Winston is tearing his teeth out with pliers, has been torturing him for several months. He said, listen, I could have just killed you. It's about breaking your soul and having you be delusional because you were a great man, Winston. And it's about our cult of power annihilating goodness and humanity and justice and truth. We're going to stomp you to hell. Nothing will stop the satanic total release. That's their spirit. And I'm able to tune into the enemy, folks. That's why I'm able to understand their operations. I can tune into their wavelength. And I can read their books where they tell you what they're going to do. Orwell was completely freaked out about it when he finally, as even a high-level officer, clicked to it all when he was brought into the Fabian Socialist. And they said, man, we're Satan worshipers, bro. We're going to kill. The plan is mass death, hellraiser, black uniforms, burning cities, and finally burning the earth to a crisp. We're going to murder everybody. We're going to do it slow, though. You want to see the future? It's a boot stomping on a human face forever. So we've had a discussion now about the big picture. While you're running around imagining you're a fairy princess when you're 45 years old, and while your husband thinks he's manly and struts around other guys, puts on the ball game and does everything, a giant psych warfare, positronic, multi-layered system is assaulting your DNA, your children, poisoning the food and water, all on record, hitting you and hitting you hard. And you're all delusional. I mean, General Petraeus, all of them. If you think you're going to escape this system and that you're going to be given the true life extension by the elites. I look into Dick Cheney's eyes and I see someone who's scared and had his soul basically sucked out. And all he knows how to do is act calm and act like he's in control of a situation. Dick Cheney, despite the fact he's been given an advanced life extension, he's got a big PR facade up that he got standard care and anybody can get this. Bull crap. He's out there saying, get ready for a giant new terror attack. Oh, I bet. Death trains loaded with tens of thousands of illegals pour across as the North American Union is officially founded on the ashes of the old republic. That's all coming up.
Do you understand how dark it is? How far down the line we are? How late it is?
We are in an artificial construct that is not completed yet. We are in a false reality system meant to induce artificial human activities in the general public on an artificial evolutionary course towards the end of humanity as we know it. Now, again, I've been talking about that for almost 20 years. When I was first discussing it, it sounded like something from Mars. Now it's all over Discovery Channel, History Channel, all over Wired Magazine, all over the news, being announced like it's a foregone conclusion. Humans will merge with machines and no longer be Homo sapien sapien by 2035. Dun, dun, dun. It's going to be great. You're going to live forever. You like NAFTA and GATT? You're going to love this. You loved Obamacare? You're going to love this. You like the Iraq War? You're going to love this. You like government-run health care? You're going to love this. The globalists want to suppress the general public having access to all this. And I know I restate this every week. It's because the general public has been induced to care about things that don't matter, to live in a false reality, and then laugh with their programming, you're a conspiracy theorist, to knowledge that they don't know about because they're so ignorant. That's the little defense mechanism that they're given. But now they're beginning to see that, oh, wait, this New World Order is real. So that's the good news is most people don't laugh at this or make jokes anymore. But they come up to me and they say, what are we going to do about it? Well, first off, most people who think they're awake don't really know how big it is. Or they'll have a attitude like, well, this is just part of evolution, and this is the way it is. There's nothing you can do about it. Imagine a general population that believes they don't affect the future. That's called believing you're disempowered on every front when the animating contest is taking place to decide the future and you have incredible power. That's why they're telling you you don't have power. But what they're currently doing, and then I'm going to come back with the really big news. Dick Cheney saying, get ready for terror attacks. We're going to get nuked. Obama. Dianne Feinstein saying, get ready. Because I want to know about where they're going next. Let me just tell you briefly where we are currently. If you read the Banff Canada documents that were from 2006, Judicial Watch sued 2007, it's in my film Endgame, they say in the meeting with the top 200 CEOs of the world, plus, meeting in roundtable events with the leaders, the Secretary of States, presidents, prime ministers, and others there, and then the corporations would vote officially in the North American Union agreement that Bush had signed 2 years before at Baylor in Waco, in a secret ceremony with Vicente Fox. That document's still secret, but in the minutes, imagine a secret North American Union that no one's ever been able to see except the front page. The front page says, we have officially merged Canada, Mexico, and the U.S. Our militaries will interchange. We'll help each other with insurrections. That was then put in the John Warren Defense Authorization Act 2 years later, 2007. It's all official. It's all global law, totally illegitimate, but they're moving forward with it. You see, they're just doing it because the government is now under its control. And the big corporate CEO bosses would vote, and then they would give the, quote, recommendation in administrative law to the governing heads of the countries, usually secretaries of state or their counterpart, Hundreds of them were there, and then they returned and began implementing it full speed ahead. Why? Because if they implement it, they all get corporate junkets, they all get corporate payoffs, they have revolving doors, and they get a place in the global government. That's why anybody will tell you, even in mainline political publications, that no one wants to be at the state level or the federal. They want to be at the international. The IMF, the World Bank, the UN, the International Bank of Settlements, the EU, because you literally have diplomatic immunity, you don't pay taxes, you're above the law. Look it up. This is the new royalty. They have established this. Obama presses North American Union with Mexico, Canada. Look, there's the headline from February of this year with him saying North American Union. See, they're uncloaking. They deny it's going on. Oh, these crazies think the police track your cell phones in real time. I said that in a 2003 film, The Matrix of Evil, with Ron Paul in a speech. The film's built around those speeches. And I said every cell phone's tracked in real time with the police, but they're not allowed to tell you. But I've talked to high-level people at the threat fusion centers and seen the documents. And the governor of Wisconsin slipped up and admitted it once. Here's the article. Everything's in live time. They hit one button. They listen to you in your car or in your house. Boom. That's now in the New York Times last week. It's in the Columbia Journalism Review today. Local cops can track your phone without a warrant, and the government doesn't want you to know. How? Well, it's got a satellite triangulator through the cell towers down to 3 feet. I mean, how do you think they do it? I told you in 1996. And again, you need to listen to me, folks. There are cancer viruses in the vaccine that embed in your DNA to trigger it when hormone levels go down to kill you. I mean, it's in their own words, the globalists see humanity as a wild, out-of-control, ugly, deformed scourge of 7.5 billion people that must be controlled, engineered, and prepared to be phased out because the new technologies are coming and the elite are going to live in this Elysium-type, heavenly, Moonraker meets Zardoz world. And again, I know our listeners know that, but we have to get the message of End Game, Blueprint for Global Enslavement, that is already a 7-year-old film, out to everyone. Because that documentary is even more powerful now and freaks people out when they learn it was made in 2007, because just what we said would happen within that time frame happened in the film, and then we go further in the film and tell you what's going to come after that. Because the globalists have a blueprint, and they just tell the unwashed masses that nothing exists. Fluoride's good for you. There's nothing bad in the vaccines. No one's listening to you. No one's tracking you. I love you, I love you, welcome to Costco, I love you. To quote Idiocracy. The public is being stunned and dumbed down in preparation because the elite openly are moving, and that's why they're collapsing the border, because they have treaties, they have secret agreements, much of them public, and just as General Petraeus said in the London Telegraph last Wednesday, we covered it here, they said, what comes after America? In a public symposium. And he said, North America. And that means North America, not where Mexico evolves and becomes a freer state and Canada does, and with high tech it just becomes we're all open. No, no, no. We become a giant Mexico City. We become a giant failed system, forced into compact cities, while the elites live in high-tech reservations in the beautiful countryside. That's their model, with ground-based Elysiums. It's all being thrown in your face with predictive programming. And this is the debate we should be having. And now they're moving on every front. I've told you over and over again, as we come towards this flashpoint, you're going to start seeing major proxy wars, major dollar devaluation, major global currency devaluations, building on the crisis while the globalists ride the crises they've helped create and exacerbate, into global governance, world taxes, world regulations on the ashes of what was there. And you'll still have euros, you'll still have dollars, you'll still have yens, you'll still have yawns. They'll be all globally based in an SDR, strategic drawing right based system that the globalists control and, most importantly, tax. They don't just want the power to issue and control the currency and be able to buy the world up with it. It's a magic trick, like an unlimited credit card. The Federal Reserve, which is the European bank front here in the United States, the Rothschild bank front on record, has an unlimited credit card, but it's even better. They get all the goods and all the ideas and all the treasure and all the real estate and all the treasure hoards and all the art. You get the debt. When you banker bail out them, you suddenly are their debtor in Spain or the United States. That's why there's now in the Fed rallies all over Europe where they call it in the Fed. They call their private banks the Fed, knowing it's the same octopus. You can read that article up on Infowars.com. Giant ones everywhere. People in Europe know because they're in the Depression. In Spain and Portugal and Greece and Ireland and everywhere else. They now know, ladies and gentlemen. And so as all of this unfolds, as all of these crises accelerate, the globalists are setting up the police state to try to suppress the public. But that's not going to work if the public looks past Obama, past Boehner, past Cameron, past Merkel, past all of these puppets to the globalists that, of course, they want to meet in secret. Of course, they don't want you to know what they're up to and doing. And just say, there is no global government. There is no man behind the curtain. Move along. These aren't the droids you're looking for, because then that forces a debate and it's game over. Everything is in this article. If you understand this headline, you understand reality. And see, I'm suddenly seeing newspapers everywhere, even the New York Times, even the Wall Street Journal, go, did you know that the DEA creates fake cases and fake witnesses because they're really listening to everything in live time? And when they bust drug dealers, they don't want the public to know they're in the NSA. And so they then create a fake case for the indictment. But they don't even want to do that now. They're just getting the federal courts to rule they can listen without warrants to everybody. See? But the bigger story is the sheeple say, well, you know, they're doing that to keep us safe from drugs. No, 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 no. They only bust the cowboys, the small-level operators. The whole system is, again, to create monopolies and markets. So the globalists control the issuance of the currency and credit, but more importantly, with the new global SDR, they want $100 trillion in taxes per decade in one Tobin digital money use transfer. Once they make you go cashless, like Israel and England have both announced they're forcing cashless phased in within 5 years, they're penalizing cash, billboards saying it's dirty and bad. Why are they getting rid of it? Because they don't need cash for black market anymore, because they'll just digitally ignore their black market. They want to shut you down and track everything you do and be able to raise taxes at levels to where you can't stop anything they're doing. Go read the article on Infowars.com. UK begins beta testing cashless society. That's why the ultimate sin will be selling oranges or watermelons on the side of the road or corn. The ultimate sin will be buying cheese from Amish. The ultimate sin will be a lemonade stand. As the media says, we're talking arrest. You don't do it, because they're going to shut everything down. You've seen beef prices more than double. You've seen overall meat prices up 40+% in the last year. You go into a diner, it used to be $10 to eat, it's 20 now. You know why? They're devaluing the dollar, and they're shutting down the farms and ranches everywhere. You can't do business. You can't survive. It's all rigged. Beef prices are record cost. You'd think ranchers would be rich. It's all rigged with the computers. There aren't real auctions anymore. I had a stack of news on that yesterday. You guys pull out the stack where the World Bank sounds alarm on sharp rise in global food prices, AFP. What does that mean? It means there'll be riots, there'll be revolution, with the globalists controlling and steering the social networks to shut down the revolutions they don't want and to push the communist and socialist ones they do, which get people deeper into the trap. Consumer price rise sharply in May. The Feds say it jumped 0.4 after rising 0.3 in April. Does anyone believe it only went up 0.4 in a month and 0.3 before that? Does anyone believe in the last year it went up 2.1%? Food prices, ladies and gentlemen, are exploding. And again, the media is like, it's good you're poor now. It lowers your carbon footprint. It's good all this is happening. It's good everybody can't, has to carpool or can't afford to go to the park anymore. But they built us in sprawl where we won't survive now as they turn us off. It's designed to destroy us, not to make us more efficient. That's why Petraeus, said, it's good that we're bringing in all these illegals. We need a bigger population because you kill 53 million Americans with abortion. So you replace them with unskilled women with 3 or 4 kids or people with diseases? No, they're meant to be attached as welfare queens to then become part of the new political class to bankrupt the country. We have the documents, not just Cloward and Piven, but Agenda 21. But see, when he goes and talks to a group of sub-globalists, the political right wing in England, Petraeus says, North American Union's the future, and we need immigrants to build us up. Yeah, immigrants we do need, but not to be put directly on the government trough to bankrupt things further. Central American migrants are on a word-of-mouth exodus to the U.S. Word of mouth, Biden just said they're going to legalize yesterday and give citizenship as DREAM Act to all the kids. Who begin? Children of the state. Women. You run into trendy women, and they're just literally, I don't need men. I don't like men. I'm going to be successful. Defeating men makes me successful. Oh, yes. What a way to run a society. They just told black women 50 years ago, we'll give you a check if there's no man in the house. She didn't like it, but she did it. Now the women are like, there's no man here. That's right, there'll be no man there, and he won't have you either when you're 65 years old and they're euthanizing your butt. And now single mothers are turning to online prostitution, as that's the only way they can make money. In fact, all these government state employees getting laid off, that's what they're turning to. You see, oh, wasn't it all a great plan they had? Isolating us, making us artificial narcissists, artificial sociopaths, breaking us down.
You are watching the best of the Alex Jones Show, weekdays from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Central. Watch live at Infowars.com/show or become a member of InfoWarsNews.com and help us take resistance to the next level.